message.
Welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast, brought to you by the Draft Professors. Tonight, joined by Dalton. Chris, we expect to be here shortly. We're going to be going through an Edge big board. Dalton, I know that your Giants are playing right now, so I appreciate you doing double duty on the podcast. How you doing this fine Monday night?
I'm good, man. I can't complain. About to get some bad weather in Louisville, it looks like, so that's going to suck. But besides that, I'm glad Florida got a coach now. That's great.
Yeah, so one of your two teams has hired a coach. Right?
Yeah, halfway there.
No, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good. I said, we're halfway there. I don't know who Giants are going to get it all. Just like Florida was a random shot in the dark, so we'll see.
Okay, well, we are going to go through, and there's Chris.
Sorry about that. Let's try to log into my new
podcast,
computer. You don't have the password for Twitter on new computer yet.
I hear you. So, Chris, we were just talking about we're going to be going through some Edge big boards. But before we went through the big boards, like Dalton, what is your thought on the quality of the Edge class as you've gone through? I don't know what it was, but I think it was like somewhere between 72 and 80 defensive linemen over the last 10 weeks.
I mean, I think it's pretty solid overall. I mean, I got 6 first-rounders in my grade and, 5 second-rounders, so 11 first and second-rounders. I think that's pretty good number. So I think that it's pretty strong at the top.
Chris, how about you? What is your overall feeling of the quality of the Edge class?
It's deep. I mean, I don't see like any star like you get like last year. There was Abdul Carter who went, yeah, this guy's gonna be his automatic star. There's whatever like the top 5 guys I was looking at. There's just like something that's like but right now from who I think will come out because there's some people I left off my top board because I think they'll return. I think it's going to be a very deep class in terms of lots of first, second, and third rounders.
Okay. So the boards were tweeted out. I can see the boards on my monitor. I hope people watching on YouTube can see the boards. I'm going to talk about them out loud so that if you're on Spotify, you know the players that we're talking about.
That's fine.
Dalton's board, which is the one on the right.
Yes.
Ruben Bain, Keldrick Falk, David Bailey, TJ Parker, Cashius Howell, R. Mason Thomas, all first-round grades. Romello Height, Quincy Rhodes, Joshua Josephs, Gabe Akis, Mateo Ugalele, all second-round grades. Anthony Lucas, LT Overton, Zion Young, Derek Moore, all third-round grades. Chris's board on the left, David Bailey, Cashius Howell, Ruben Bain, Keldrick Falk, Mateo Ugalele, Quincy Rhodes, Derek Moore, Anthony Smith, TJ Parker, Gabe Akis, Romello Height, R. Mason Thomas, Joshua Josephs, Akeem Mesidor, Danny Dennis Sutton. And Chris, I guess I'm going to pivot to you first. Where on your board is the first round grade cutoff?
I'd say top 5, although Quincy Rhodes I debated. But yeah, top 5 is first round grades. Top, I'd go 12 or second, and then 13 through 15 or third round.
And do you have more third round grades that didn't make the top 15?
Yeah, I had some second rounders. I mean, as I said, a couple of guys like I'm not sure. Like Zion Young, I would have put in the second round. Damon Wilson would have put in the second round. Third round would have been John Henry Daly, but I'm not sure if they come out. So I'm looking here, like so for like third, fourth. I agree. Like Barsham, I have Malachi Lawrence, Will Height, and Anton Saka as 4th round. I have Vincent Anthony 5th round with Patrick Payton and Kenyatta Jackson. That's as far as I got because I just want to focus on like the first 3 rounds, and then after that it's the crapshoot.
Definitely would agree. I would say the caliber of player outside of the top 15, I think bodes well for edges taken on day 3 to get some playing time. Why don't we start at the top?
All right.
Chris, your edge 1 is David Bailey. What makes him your edge 1?
I love the speed. I mean, this is a guy who we've seen just dominate. And that's what I'm looking for if I'm a GM. Like, okay, can this guy take over games? Can this guy be someone who when I watch him, offensive tackles are just overwhelmed. And I went back and I watched the Utah game. I watched the Kansas game. I rewatched the BYU games, and every time I watched Bailey, he was either pressuring the quarterback, causing the offensive tackles to get false starts. I love the fact that he just pursues almost like an attack dog, on steroids. And I could see his game transform, especially in the modern NFL, where we're now seeing like the Broncos, the Eagles, especially with Chargers. It's speed. We're going to try to beat your offensive tackle. We're going to make him rock on his heels. We don't want to try to push him around. We want to basically get around. And to me, that's what separated Bailey from Falk, Bain, and the rest of the board outside of Howell. Like, he is just pure speed that you can't stop. I get it's a one-trick pony, but it's like in baseball when you have a 100-mile-per-hour fastball. You can't teach it; you just have it, and that's why for me, Bailey was my number 1 guy.
Okay, and Dalton, you have Ruben Bain as your top edge, and I believe in your notes to me, you said that's a top 5 pick, correct?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so what do you like about Ruben Bain that you have him at the top?
I mean, he's just everything you hear about as a defensive coach, defensive guy. He dominated Notre Dame this year, South Florida. Hasn't been dominant since the beginning of the year, but I think a lot of that is scheme based by the offense. Raw athleticism, he's just developing that right now, and he's just going to get more of a freak, I think. Really good at concepting pass blocking schemes and run blocking schemes, and he could slide anywhere on the D line. He's not stationary DN, so I think he can be maximized if he moves around in the next level. He can 2-point stance, outside linebacker, or a hand in the dirt. His inside rush package is really good. I think it turns like 3rd and longs into nightmares for the interior linemen. They got to deal with him on 3rd and longs. I think this trajectory is just all pro level guy. That's not there yet, but I think it's beneath the surface. Yeah, he's everything you want to DN. I mean, he's a freak. His production isn't great, 4.5 sacks, but I think a lot of that scheme based in the ACC.
And it definitely should be noted that Ruben Bain did an incredibly good job coming back. I believe he played hurt most of last season. So it was nice to see him with a healthy season, and he has solidified himself, I think, as a first-round edge for most people. So, Dalton, one other player, like when I was looking at your board, you are really high on R. Mason Thomas. Do you want to tell everybody why you are high on R. Mason Thomas, the edge from Oklahoma?
Yeah, he's just a speed rusher like a lot of the guys in this class, but I think he's one of the best that does it. He's really fast, explosive, and his production is definitely there. And you're not used to seeing this dominating DN on Oklahoma's defense. I think a lot of it's the coach there, but he's producing too, and he's been doing it for longer than 1 year. He's been doing it for multiple years, and he makes a lot of impact plays, man. Strip sacks, big time sacks on 3rd downs where teams are looking for momentum, and he forces them out of that. I think he's one of the best pure pass rushers in this draft. I mean, that's what he's going to be. He's not great at setting the edge, but if you want a guy that can get after the quarterback, I think late first round is a perfect spot for him.
Okay. And then, Chris, you were really high on Cashius Howell and Derek Moore relative to Dalton. You want to talk about those two guys for a moment?
Yeah, Cashius Howell, we went into the season and we kept saying, okay, how's he going to do against elite competition? How is he going to perform when he lost? Texas A&M lost a lot of guys last year on their defensive front, and the results are he was the defensive force. I mean, he has spin moves that have put offensive tackles basically almost on their behinds. And after the Notre Dame game, there was worried, well, the press is going down. And instead, 8.5 sacks in SEC play, big sack to end the game against South Carolina in their 31-30 win. Terrorized Missouri and Bro previous with a sack, forced fumble, 2 sacks against LSU, 2.5 against Mississippi State. Like every game outside of a Texas game, it was you saw this guy destroy people. And I get it. This is where me and Dalton sort of disagree. Dalton likes bigger guys. And I get that. I understand that's, the Steve Spagnuolo sort of, theory of you set the edge, big guy, can handle offensive tackles. I get it. I love speed. I love quickness. I want a guy who, just like Bailey, is going to force defensive tackles to either have to probably get some false starts because they're, rocking back on their heels, or they're worried about, okay, where's the spin move? And to me, that's what I liked about Howell. It was every game, we're seeing that quickness, the bend, getting around the edge, being able to separate with his speed on the edge, and he produces. I mean, that's the biggest thing. It's like, okay, I get other people, but when you get 11.5 sacks, including 8.5 in the SEC, that has to count for something.
And also, tell us
regarding Trey Moore,
Derek Moore.
Derek Moore, what I liked about him was I wanted to see this year how he would also do. Like, all right, can you produce? And look, there's been a lot of responsibility on him because they lost your entire defensive line. You weren't sure what was going to happen now that he didn't have Mason Graham, that he didn't have the rest of that defensive line crew. And again, this is another guy. This is a guy who we talk about has the athleticism, who stepped up this year big time now that he was the leader. And I watched more of a combination of power, speed, a guy who could, handle himself in the run. It's not great, but he's pretty good, who was able to perform, at elite level against Big Ten teams. And mostly just, again, the 9.5 sacks, the helping Michigan in the Big Ten to become 9-3. To me, he stepped up. We saw a guy who is all right. Hey, who's ready. So he's sort of in between for me. He's bigger than Bailey and he's bigger than Howell, but he's still not, this 300-pound guy you worry that he can't, have him as an edge rusher or a pass rushing linebacker. To me, he's sort of the best of both worlds.
Okay. And Dalton, I just noticed that you are also really high on TJ Parker relative to Chris. What do you like about the Clemson edge? And I believe you said that was a top 20 grade, I think, when you messaged, right?
Yeah. I mean, I know his productions fell off a little bit this year for sure. But, I mean, that happens to players in college sometimes, especially when they're not motivated. I mean, you got the playoffs the first 2 or 3 weeks. It's hard to play hard sometimes. And I just think he's going to be a day one difference maker when he steps on the field. And if you watch the tape, his hand fighting skills, and he's polished, I think that will translate immediately to the NFL against the tackles. I think he can play against multiple fronts, I think he's best in the 4-3. Pin his ears back and just hunt QBs without overthinking. But he has a really good natural leverage too, so make him set the edge. So I think it'd be a rare 3-down rookie even. He won't be hitting on early downs. And I think the nuance in his game is what separates him from his position. He's like he works blockers like he's been playing for 5 years. Great head fakes and shoulder dips, great angles. And I just think he's going to be a guy that's, like I said, he can play on all 3 downs, and he's going to produce like 10 sacks a year probably.
Okay, so now I'm going to open it up to you guys. So, Chris, as you look either at your board or Dalton's board, is there anything that stands out to you, either that you're higher on a guy and you want to prop him up, or maybe a guy that maybe is on your board but isn't on Dalton's that you want to talk about?
So I'm pulling up both boards here. On Dalton's board, we see a lot. I guess the guy I would pump up a lot more than he is Quincy Rhodes. I think Rhodes will be better with a caveat. I think Quincy Rhodes, when he is on, caveat, is better than Ruben Bain, Keldrick Falk, David Bailey, and Cassius Howell. I get it. There's times we look at Quincy Rhodes and it's like, God damn it, are you awake? Or do you care? And then there's times when you look and it's like, God, this is the best guy. This is, we are looking at Nick, Bettino 2.0. We are looking at, I hate to drop the name, but Myles Garrett, like the size, 6'6", 275, where you can bull rush. Sometimes there's a swim move. To me, he is and again, I have him sort of at the cutoff first and second round, but I'm just a lot higher on him because it's just, man, you look at that guy. And in the right defensive, whether it's, Denver, Kansas City, especially the Eagles. I can see him going to one of those teams. They'll have a defensive line coach who can get in his ear, light a fire in his ass. And next thing you know, we're talking next year, Quincy Rhodes, Rookie of the Year. We're all going to go, why the hell did he drop that low? And we'll go, yeah, we should have seen it.
Yeah.
I don't like our Mason Thomas just for the fact he's not healthy. I mean, and I like the talent. And Dalton's done a great job explaining everything. But it's like when we talked about you and me, Jim, about Antonio Williams. If you can't stay on the field, then what the hell good are you? And I get it. There's always like a foot injury, hamstring injury. It's not major. It's just like, God damn, if you're not healthy now, what's going to happen when you get to the NFL and it's a 17-game season plus preseason? That's why I dropped Mason Thomas the second round, maybe even third, just because I worry he's going to be like that 10-a-game player who just he'll miss a couple games here and there due to some nagging injury, and you're going, God damn it, it'll piss people off.
Yep. So, Dalton, same question to you. Like, as you look at your board or Chris's, is there a guy that you see maybe that's on your board that's not on Chris's that you want to talk about, or maybe another player that you are really high on relative to Chris?
I'll start with Cassius Howell. Romello Height. I already went to Cassius Howell. Romello Height, I think, because he said I don't like the speed guys, but I think I do like him a lot. I think he's just legit pass rushing ability. That's what he's going to bring the next level. And I think he has versatility to drop in zone coverage. So it gives coordinators like real options and sub packages. They don't have to bring him off the field, or they can rush the passer or drop him in coverage. So they have a lot of choices. His handwork and bend, I think, just translates immediately to the next level at any defensive front. And you're going to get an edge that he just understands how to attack the tackles. 69 career pressures, and he knows how to finish them too. When he gets in the backfield, he can finish the tackles. The concerns are real. 240. He's going to struggle when tackles lock onto him. And the run defense isn't where it needs to be for, to start off the bat. And he needs to tackle better. But his combo of pass rush production and his coverage ability, I think, is raw, but could get a lot better with his athleticism. I think it's not common for edge rushers to be able to do that. That's what brings his grade up for me. I think he could add 10, 15 pounds when he gets to the league. And he'll need to get coached on finishing tackles. But outside of that, I think he's just a nightmare to block in the passing game.
And I think one of the other things that, without necessarily, we can mention specific players, but it's more of a summary of, I think between the two 15-player boards that are being shown, I think there's about 19 players listed on the two boards. Zion Young, LT Overton, Anthony Lucas, Danny Dennis Sutton, Akeem Mesidor, and there's probably, and Anthony Smith, I think are the 6 players that are unique. But one of the discussions that's going to need to come up, and we're probably going to need to have this draft cycle, is how high can you take a designated pass rusher, especially if you're a team that doesn't have a lot of edges, right? So like maybe there's a team where they need 1 or 2 edges. Let me rephrase that. Maybe there's a team that needs 2 edges. Well, they could afford to take a DPR early as long as they grab a different edge late. But if your team needs a starting edge, and what I mean by starters, you need somebody that can play on first and second down. Like as I look at the lists, I see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I see 6 guys on Dalton's board that couldn't play on first or second down. Right, they are literally 6 guys that are definitely designated pass rushers. And as I'm looking at Chris's list, it's 1.
Oh, yeah, we're looking at mine probably going, half these guys can't even be on the freaking field for first and second down.
Yeah, so I think it's the same 6 players, right? So if you go back and listen to the scouting reports, David Bailey, Cashius Howell, R. Mason Thomas, Romello Height, Joshua Josephs, and then to a lesser extent, Gabe Akis. Those are guys that can't set the edge against the run. And I shouldn't say can't. Those are guys that the scouting report said that they didn't. Akis has the body to do it. He just doesn't do it. Right? So, like, Chris, what's your take on, how do you respond to, like 6 of the 15 guys on the board? You don't want them on the field on first or second down. Like, how high should they be taken?
I'd still take them high. I mean, look at the kid. Just for if you want to know like how big pass rushing is, look at the Chiefs-Cowboys game where neither team really cared about running the ball. It was just shotgun formation, 3 wide, 4 wide, throw the ball around. But that's what teams are trying to do. I mean, I get it. We got to set the edge and stop the run. How many teams run nowadays? Like, how many teams do you look at and go, they are all about the run. The best teams now, unless you're the Colts and they're falling like a stone, it's usually you got to stop the passer. And most teams now throw on first down. Maybe they'll run on second down, throw on third. So, again, if you can't get to the quarterback, like the Chiefs are having trouble. Like Chiefs couldn't get any pass rush against Dak Prescott. If you can't do that in the NFL, you are dead in the water. So, look, that's what defensive tackles are for. That is what, maybe if you want, you can bring up a linebacker as, that 5th guy, or put it in maybe what the Chargers do, which is 3-4, and your edges are basically your pass rush backers. But again, I need pass rush. I want an edge who's going to make the quarterback and the offensive tackle go, crap. If I hold the ball for a second too long, I'm going to get killed. So that I guess is my response to all the guys. Oh, but we're not edge. It's not set the edge against a run. Welcome to the modern NFL. We are throwing the ball 30, 40 times. I'd rather have a guy who can get to the quarterback than a guy like an LT Overton who will set the edge, but he's not going to really get after the quarterback.
And Dalton, how about you? Like, what is your take on how high can a DPR go?
I mean, if he's the best player available, I think you can go as high as 5, 10, whatever. If he's the best player available on that certain team's board, it's scheme based. But also, you got to. It's just that's what the class is this year. There's a lot of specialists, whether it be a bigger guy who can't rush the pass as well, or a guy that's only rushes the passer. So it's not like that every year, but it's year based, and this year you gotta take what you get.
Okay, so if you had to pick one player, Chris, on your board that would win Defensive Rookie of the Year, regardless of what team they play on, who would it be?
I'll go. Quincy Rhodes, because I think he will be the guy that is going to shock us. Because again, I don't know where he's going to go, but if he gets slow, if he gets a second round, he might finally the light might turn on. He'll get motivated. Next thing you know, we're seeing the guy that we saw glimpses of in the ACC, where it's 2-sack games. He's using speed and power, and this will be the guy we look and go, why didn't we see it? That's why I'm picking Rhodes. I know the safe bet is Ruben Bain. I just look at Rhodes and I go, there's glimpses. If he puts it together, he's going to be a force.
And Dalton, how about you? If you had to pick somebody on your edge board that would be Defensive Rookie of the Year or Defensive Player of the Year, who do you think it would be?
I'm actually going down the board a little bit, and I'm going to go with Gabe Yakis. I think the ability not to set the edge is more of I don't want to instead of I can't. In the NFL, I think he'll be way more motivated. Try to get that second contract, and he'll be able to set the edge. And then all he does is make splash plays. 11 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and then 43 tackles for edge. So he's all over the field all the time, and he's making tackles for loss in the run game too. So I think you look for explosive plays, and he's gonna have a lot of those. I think so. Gabe Yakis for the dark horse.
Okay. And then something else that should be mentioned, Arvell Reese isn't on either of your edge boards. Dalton, thoughts on Arvell Reese? Is he an edge or a linebacker?
I think he's a linebacker. He's an edge. He's probably number one, right? He's one of the best players in the draft. Just any position, regardless of position. I just think he's a linebacker, 6'4", 243, but he can defend the pass. He's great against the run, filling gaps, and I don't see the explosiveness or the bend around the edge for him to be a every down edge rusher, but he's just a great linebacker. You don't need to move him.
And Chris, how about you? How do you classify Arvell Reese?
Arvell Reese is a linebacker because when I look at him and I look how Texas uses him, they use him as an outside backer. He will drop into coverage. He will go sideline to sideline when they ask him to. Yeah, they have him rush the passer a lot, but to me, he's a linebacker because that's what he did. That's what he is. That's what he plays. And I think that's basically where teams are going to look at him and go, okay, you're a linebacker. Probably a bigger backer like what they're doing with Abdul Carter, like they do with Harold Landry, but a linebacker, no doubt.
Okay, and then Dalton, I love your top 15. Like, I love that you gave me the grades, made the graphic. If you had to pick an edge that's outside of your top 15, where if a team gets him and he develops into a Pro Bowler, who is the most likely Pro Bowl caliber edge that's not in your top 15?
I'm actually going to go with Mikael Kamara from Indiana. He's the one that just missed. He's really good first step, violent. He had a huge year last year and 2 years ago. Only 1 sack this year, but their defense is playing pretty well without him producing. So it seems like you don't need to do that. I think he's a designated pass rusher in a 3-4 scheme. Really, that's his best thing. Natural leverage and play strength. But his upside is there, man. You see it last year, and it was against the best teams he produced last year. Not sure what his problem is this year, but if he can gets it back to last year's potential, then he's definitely a guy that can end up being a starter, making a Pro Bowl down the road.
And Chris, how about you? If you had to pick a Pro Bowl player that didn't make your top 15, anybody jump out at the rest of your board for you?
I mean, the one guy, I was taking a look at my board. The one guy who I like a lot, getting consistency drives me crazy, but I wanted to move up higher, was Vincent Anthony Jr. Again, the bend, speed. Unfortunately, he's a one-trick pony, so that's what made me sort of. And there were games where he disappeared down the stretch, so that's what had me hold back. But just that Illinois game sticks in my head where he just, that was one of those games where he turned it on and you just sat there and went, God, this guy's a first-round pick. He's going to be a first-round pick. And then the rest of the season hit, and I'm like, okay, third, fourth, it's probably a fifth-round pick. But, again, I wouldn't be surprised if some team unlocks him and figures out, okay, we're going to make you, we're going to force you to have more pass rush moves. We'll have to get your conditioning better. And next thing you know, I'll look like an idiot, like a lot of us.
Well, one of the reasons that we're doing this here in December, right? So that, these boards were built using 2025 game film, but, there's still some football left to be played. We still have some all-star games. We still have the combine. So there may be some arm length measurements that could change the boards, but I love when Draft Professor can generate our boards here in the early part of December. You guys are the first group to do your edge boards. So you guys finished the groups of players faster than the other two podcasts. So definitely love seeing this.
So I have a question for you two, because I've
yeah.
been getting heat on this. So I'll ask you, Jim, and then you, Dalton. I know there's the Ruben Bain people. They love me. You said all the great things. I'm not in that camp. So talk me off the ledge, because the more I see Ruben Bain, the more I think it's Shamar Stewart 2.0. Like, oh, yeah, he looks great. Oh, he's doing this. Oh, yeah, they're doing all this. And I heard that with Shamar Stewart. And then we've seen him in the pro, and he's done nothing. So talk me off the ledge, because right now I'm getting a lot of Shamar Stewart vibes from Ruben Bain, where it's like, yeah, okay, I get he does this and this and this, but he only has 4.5 sacks, and he's playing the ACC and didn't play any great offensive tackles. So why should I believe it? He's going to be a top 5 pick when GM's going to go, God damn, only 4.5 sacks? So ACC's not that good.
So I think, first of all, he's a 3-down edge, right? There's no situational substitutions for Ruben Bain. Now, there's really 2 schools of thought on edges. Like Chris, you were mentioning, you like the fast, bendier guys. Buffalo tends to like what we would call like a cage rusher. If the edge can't go through the tackle, they're not strong enough to play edge, because when you're playing Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes or some of these scrambling quarterbacks, you're staying in your rush lane is more important than bending around the edge. Like, it's better to compress and crash the pocket than to try to bend around it. So my thoughts would be Bain, Falk, Rhodes, and then even you go further down like Mesidor or Dennis Sutton or even Derek Moore. Those types of rushers are going to be really high on Buffalo's board. Buffalo hasn't had an edge like David Bailey or Cashius Howell on its team, unless you're talking about Von Miller or Javon Solomon. And Solomon has the lack of productivity that I don't know if he makes the team in his 3rd year. So I'm of the opinion that Bain specifically, but if I even had to extend it to like Bain, Falk, Ugalele, Rhodes, Derek Moore, I think more teams will prefer the traditional 260-pound edge that can play on first and second down. And then they'll do the DPR thing with a second, third, or fourth round pick. That's like, if I was building a team, that's what I would do. But Dalton, what's your selling point that an edge like Bain that doesn't get a lot of sacks is going to be a good NFL player?
He has 17 career at least. At least he's produced. He had 8 2 years ago, 5 last year. So he has a better career than Tamar. He had 4.5 career. So at least he has that going for him. But I agree with what you said about, it's just playing 3 downs, man. It's hard to find that in this draft, and any year, but really hard this year. And it's just, he has great 3 down ability, and it's the upside of his pass rush. I mean, even if it doesn't come to fruition, I think he could still, have 5 or 6 sacks and then be really impactful on running downs and still be a good player. So I think has a high ceiling and a high floor is what it is.
Yeah, and then I think the other thing, and I don't remember which one of the two of you mentioned it about Bain, but Bain, you could kick inside on a passing down. You could use him as an edge on first and second down and then move him to a 3 tech if you have a good matchup where you want to put him over a guard on third down to open up space to bring like a linebacker or a DPR in. So I think the 3 down versatility of Bain is why he's being discussed as a top 5 or top pick.
Yeah. We're on the same page.
No, and I get that part. I mean, my counter is, how much would Buffalo right now love to have a TJ Watt where it's like, okay, he's going to get after this guy. Look at this guy. Look at TJ Watt. He will get you 10, 12 sacks. Every defense core is going to go, where the hell is he? Where is he? Where is he coming out? Where is he blitzing from? Again, I get the size with Bain, and I understand that. He should dominate. If you're this good, you should dominate. Same with Keldrick Falk. Like, okay, you fit all these things. I hear about the 40. I hear about, the quick first step. I hear about this. So why aren't you having at least 8 or 9 sacks? Why aren't you, having games where, you are terrorizing the offensive line? They can't stop you, especially an ACC, which we talked about is sort of lacking this year. And we don't notice. I haven't seen any draft professors where we're talking, oh, yeah, Virginia Tech or Louisville or SMU offensive tackles. It's, again, I just worry with Bain. We're falling the same trap, even with Falk. It's like, okay, looks great. He looks great in workouts. Man, look at that guy. He's just so big and powerful. And then it's like, oh, yeah, well, like Mike Mueller, we learned, if you're not producing on the level, then there's a reason that it won't translate to the NFL. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll be the first to admit it. Just, again, how would you – and I'll say this to you, Dalton. How do you explain the lack of production from Bain in terms of what we expect from a guy who's going to be a top 5 pick?
Some production can be scheme-based, but let's go back to your TJ Watt analogy. Wouldn't Buffalo love to have him? So Buffalo just played TJ Watt yesterday, right? And Buffalo had to play that game without its 2 starting Pro Bowl tackles. Spencer Brown was out. Deion Dawkins was out. Okay. Watt made me nervous in the first series. But Buffalo racked up a record. No team has rushed for more yardage in Pittsburgh Stadium than Buffalo did yesterday. No visiting team has rushed for that many yards at Pittsburgh in that stadium ever, and the stadium is about 25 years old. Okay, so Buffalo racked up, it was 230 yards before the game was over. I don't know what the final total was. But backup offensive tackles combined with tight ends neutralized TJ Watt on the first 2 downs to the point where he didn't earn the right to rush the passer. Right? So ultimately, there are games where you're going to have to defend the run, and like, I agree with you, Chris. TJ Watt is an elite pass rusher. I would love to have him on Buffalo, right? I would, but we don't want to make it sound like I don't want to say he's a really good player. Probably, I would say he's probably a Hall of Fame player. But he has a weakness defending the run. And if you can't stop the run, there's no reason for Josh Allen to pass. Right? So, that's kind of how I see it. Now, I also don't stat scout. So just because somebody doesn't have sacks, like Shamar Stewart, if he had fallen to Buffalo, he's exactly the prototype edge that Buffalo would want, right? Because he has the right size. He can compress the pocket, and then maybe he has a little bit of bend to get around the edge as well. I think the trend, at least for Buffalo, is that Buffalo wants defensive tackles that can rush the passer, and it wants edges that set the edge, and the quarterback can't run outside of the edge. We don't want Mahomes or Lamar Jackson to get outside whoever the two edges are in Buffalo, like Bosa and Russaw. So that's my take. Dalton, how much do sacks factor into your evaluation of an edge?
I mean, you got to watch a lot of film to get that. That's why I don't watch stats either. It's only a little bit of the tell. You got to watch almost every play to realize. I mean, how much is that team throwing against them? How much is he getting double teamed? How many times are they rolling away from them? And if you watch Bain, the answer is a lot. They do that a lot. And then another thing is, like, with the undersized guys, there's a lot more Arkevious Mingos, Deion Jordans, Caleb Chasins than there are TJ Watts. It's like, I think the bust potential is higher too, because you're not playing on first and second down. You better do good when you're on the field on third down, or we're going to cut you.
I like that point, because I would be curious. We should probably talk about doing this as a podcast, but digging out how many true passing downs are there in an NFL game. So most defenses are on the field for 70 snaps plus or minus. If your defense is really good, you can get that down into the 60s. But in general, you should expect to have 70 offensive plays, 70 defensive plays every game. I would be curious, out of those 70, how many are either known passing situation or a true pass rush set where that you can put a DPR on the field because the other team has 4 wide receivers on the field. Or because there's some analytics and some research there. But I mean, Chris, I think you're asking a valid question. I don't know that we've collected all the data to answer it, but I think it's a really good question.
And I do get what you're saying, watching stats and everything. Just like this, I think we can both agree on this. If Brandon Beane would trade James Cook and any defensive player and 2 first-round draft picks, if he could get Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter. I mean, you look at Tulia Tupololo. I mean, those are the guys you are looking at when I look at defensive ends and go, okay, yeah, I get it. You're not going to be the big guy. You're not going to set the edge. But you can always get one of those, like an LT Overton, you can get to set the edge on run plays. But when it comes, and I go back to, like, Kansas City does that. They get a lot of big guys, or collapse the pocket, do all of that. But when you're looking now at the offensive tackles, and all of them now, we look at they're either 6'6", 325, sometimes 350. It's getting tougher to push these guys around who have 60 to maybe 80 pounds on, some of these guys. Again, for me personally, again, I'm more speed. I would take the Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, because I look and go, I can scheme around the run. If I had to bring up an extra tackler, I could do that. I have the speed. But goddamn, I mean, we saw that with Houston in this past weekend. Just they don't need to rush blitz. They don't need to do any of that. It's just You turn the dogs loose with Will Anderson, Hunter. Go get me that guy. Get Daniel Jones. Make him uncomfortable. Make him decide I want to be somewhere anywhere else but this. And like Denver, that's how you beat Mahomes. That's how you beat Allen. You make them realize crap. They're not going to send a blitz. It's just these two guys, and I better get rid of this ball within 2 seconds, or else I'm going to get sandwiched.
And I think, how do I want to say this? First of all, I think the quality of offensive tackle play, like what an average offensive tackle is. I think, you play 17 regular season games a year. You're playing 34 different offensive tackles, right? I'm going to venture to say that you're going to be able to take a player like a TJ Parker, and out of those 34 offensive tackles, TJ Parker is going to be able to get a pass rush off against 50% of those tackles. Whether it's a left tackle, right tackle, whichever side you move them on. I think the quality of tackle play, if you're talking about the best of the best tackles, like are you going to be able to, handle like the Deion Dawkins or the Josh Simmons of the world, right? And we start saying, okay, who are those offensive tackles that you need the DPR for? Because I think the bigger edges will be able to show their worth against any below average NFL tackle. But to beat the really good tackles, you need the bendy edge. Right? So the question is I would say are you trying to win in the regular season or are you trying to win in the playoffs? Right? Because in the playoffs, you're going to have to play Mahomes and you're going to have to play Lamar Jackson. And to defend those quarterbacks, my opinion is you're better off keeping them in the pocket and making them throw. I'd rather see Mahomes throw than Mahomes run.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it goes back. That Dallas game to me just opened my eyes like crap. This is what happens when you can't get a pass rush. When a guy like Dak Prescott or Matt Stafford or Jared Goff could just sit there. They'll pick you apart. They don't care if you have a great secondary. They don't care if you're, dropping 6 back, 7 back. If they have all the time in the world, they'll just send an email, send out a tweet, and have a cup of coffee, wave at you, Jim, and then start throwing 20-yard darts down the field going, all right, I'm not worried.
So Chris, how much of that do you think is the coverage connected to the pass rush versus the pass rush all by itself? Meaning that, do you think that there's an issue where maybe if you can't play press man, the pass rush isn't getting home? Do you think any of that is connected?
Maybe. I just think that most quarterbacks like to – it's so simple. They don't want to get hit. I mean, none of them like getting hit. Maybe Drake May, because he's a little bit, The rest of them, it's like we don't want to get hit. We don't want somebody to take out our legs. We want to just sit there. And I get it. You don't want Mahomes and Allen just running around, but you also don't want them just sitting in the pocket and throwing darts, waiting back and throwing deep bombs. You want them to go, crap, I got to get rid of this ball. I can't, just wait for the play to develop. And again, that's why I look at the Denvers, the Houstons, the Chargers. They believe in just, we're going to come after you. We will bring the heat. We don't need to have, to blitz. We don't need to worry about, sending 5-6 guys, because these guys will make it all of a sudden. Instead of having 3 seconds to throw, you have 2 seconds. Instead of having 5 seconds, you have 2.5. And that's when you start seeing guys get in trouble, because all of a sudden it's like the clock speeds up and they're going, damn, I got to get rid of this. I mean.
Yeah. Well, actually, so Dalton, you're a Giants fan, and they drafted Abdul Carter last year. And Abdul Carter, first of all, I guess the question should be said, is Abdul Carter a better prospect than everybody on your edge boards this year?
Yeah, I like him more than Bain. I like Carter was a really good prospect.
Yeah, and Chris, I think you said that actually.
Yeah,
even when
I looked at Abdul Carter last year. He was easily the number one pick overall if Tennessee didn't really need a quarterback. Like that was the surefire guy. Who knew that he had a bit of an attitude problem? But again, like him, Will Anderson, those are the guys when I'm drafting top 5. I want somebody who I look and go, he will take over a game. He did in college. He'll do it in pro.
And Abdul Carter, from a height weight standpoint, profile similar to David Bailey, right?
Yes, both him and Will Anderson are that 6'4", 245 range. They're not, the 6'6", 6'5", 270.
So, Dalton, as a Giants fan, and you're looking at Abdul Carter's impact to the Giants, how is he holding up against the run?
We had like the worst run D in the league. So there you go. I mean, we fired our D coordinator.
Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah, we got Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau. We got a lot of guys, but they can't stop anybody. I mean, our whole defense is – we just got – like I said, our D coordinator just got fired last week too. So I don't – he must not be doing great.
Thibodeau is an edge that profiles similar to David Bailey from a size standpoint, right?
I think he's a little bigger. I think he's like 65 maybe.
Okay, and then Burns is also on the lighter side, isn't he?
Yeah. But he got length that most people don't have. He has that like out of this world. His length, his arm length, his arms, and his bend's crazy too for his size. And his arm length is what keeps him so good. I mean, I think he leads the league. He was leading the league in sacks until Myles Garrett just went off the last couple of weeks. But Burns is like a different prospect. I don't see anybody in this class like compares to him just because his length and explosiveness is different.
Okay.
But Carter as well, he only has 1 sack against the pass, and we have 2 wins. So I don't think he's contributing as much as you would like, for sure.
Okay. So I guess why don't we pause for podcaster identification? So, Dalton, you want to let everybody know about Home Squad Sports and all of the other content that you make when you're not on Draft Professor?
Yeah, I have a live show every Wednesday at noon. We had our most live viewers ever today, so shout out to that. And then Wednesday nights at 8. Always dropping recruiting news. Definitely going to get into that a lot now since the season's winding down. A lot of interviews coming up, and just got the word will be the Senior Bowl in January, so that'd be fun.
And Chris, you want to let everybody know about the Last Call?
Yes, lastcallpodcast.com. Also on Twitter. I am on YouTube channel, Rumble. I'm on Facebook. And this Tuesday, I'll be sitting down with Will Thomas. We're going to be breaking down the big coaching changes from Will Stein to Lane Kiffin, John Sumrall, which jobs we like, which jobs we didn't like, the drama around where will Lane go, and all some other good stuff.
Cool. And I want to take a moment and plug the Draft Professor Simulator. There is no simulator like it. So sign up for the simulator. It requires you to have a user ID. It is completely free. And what you get with the Draft Professor Simulator is that it's interactive. What that means is that if Dalton goes in and does a mock draft for the Giants, and then Chris goes in and does a mock draft for the Chiefs, when I come in and do a mock draft for Buffalo, I'm very likely going to see the players that Chris likes for the Chiefs and the players that Dalton likes for the Giants taken by those teams when I mock for the Bills, unless I select those players first. So it basically becomes a bidding war about which team is going to pick the player. And what that's also going to give you is a really random round 3 through 7 experience. So on the Draft Professor Simulator, what you see happen towards the end of every draft should be a little bit different. And the more mock drafts that you do, the more you influence who your favorite team takes. So if you want to see how that works, Chris, Dalton, and I, we're going to be doing a defensive line big board next Monday. And then we're going to be doing some mock drafts the Monday after. And we will actually be demonstrating how some of that works live on the podcast. So for Dalton, Chris, myself, for the 110 people at the Draft Professor, thank you so much for tuning in. And we will see you on a podcast again tomorrow night where Randall does his wide receiver board. See you guys soon. Thank you.